Welcome to Conversations with the Father. I'm Father Michael Orr. This is a show of Dominion Family Services, a nonprofit agency in the state of Michigan and the metropolitan Detroit area. And we deal with the issues of intimate partner violence and family violence. And so again, welcome to this show. Later on, I'm going to introduce you to my guest, Ms. Shirley Williams from On the Wings of Love. But right now, I just want to spend a little bit of time telling you about Dominion Family Services. Dominion Family Services was founded in 1995 with the help of the Metropolitan YWCA. That asked us to think about how you would run a group for men who were not having successful relationships at home. At the time in 1995, the preferred method of dealing with men who were violent to their families was to put them in jail. And so we got together and we decided to try to come up with an idea that would hold men accountable, keep our families safe, but keep a change of the way men handled women and the way men handled children in the families at the forefront. And so back in 1995, we decided to start a group in the city of Highland Park here in the great state of Michigan that addressed the issues of men and families. We started out with 2 men. And it grew to many, many men. And so for the last 18 years, we've been working with specifically men on the issues of intimate partner violence, family violence, anger management, mentoring, and all sorts of issues that have to do with men and the way we engage both our women and we engage our children and the way that we engage our families. And so as we go forward in the coming weeks, the content of the show is going to be around how men deal with family violence, the things that we think, the things that we do. The guests that we come on will be talking about it from not only a secular point of view, the law point of view, but even from the church point of view, how men deal with domestic violence. And lastly, I want to bring to your attention my guest, Ms. Shirley Williams, who is the CEO of On the Wings of Love. Good afternoon, Ms. Shirley.
Good afternoon, Father Michael.
And so, Ms. Shirley, you're here because you deal with the issues of domestic violence as it relates to how we as men impact women, not only in this country, but also in the global world. Would you tell our watchers about your work in the foreign mission?
I've been traveling to foreign countries since 1987 and basically dealing with women and their children in the areas of domestic violence and relationships. It is still the same global. It's all about control and power and intimate partner relationships and how do we get along, how do we survive. The only thing in the foreign countries, they do not have a lot of medical assistance. They do not have a lot of other financial assistance for the woman to leave, so she can't leave. She has to endure whatever she has to endure, and because she got to totally depend upon her spouse.
So as we talk about how men and women relate to one another globally, we see a lot of intimate partner violence that's not being addressed in the world today that we live in.
Yes, that is so true. And there's a lot of movement in other countries surrounding, the freedom for women and women's rights, and it's a hard struggle. We are so fortunate here in our country that our laws have been put in place for protection of the woman and her children, especially in the state of Michigan.
Now, in the state of Michigan and even domestically, tell me about your work with women as it relates to this country.
I've been dealing with women, oh my God, for maybe 30 years or so. When I used to do groups for victims, and then in year 2002, I looked up and my group was full of female offenders. So I had to take another take on things because since the laws changed in 1995, that when the police go out, they have to arrest the primary aggressor. So women are being arrested more than in the past 15, 18 years than ever. So my group now consists of female offenders. But the nature of the beast, I will call it, is that sometimes these women have been abused all along, even from childhood, and they may have grew up in an abusive home, and then what happens, they choose a person who's abusive to them, and then it's like their whole life has all been about abuse. But because, like I said, the laws have changed, that the police got to arrest the primary aggressor, and so she appears to be the primary aggressor. She's going to get arrested. She got to go through the same thing that men go through. She have to take classes, either 16 weeks or 26 weeks. So, but in my group, I tell the women, yes, you committed a crime. And they said, well, I'm innocent. I said, but you committed a crime because you stood in front of a judge. But outside of that, what you need to do in our group is to find out what happened to you. When did abuse start in your life? Who are you? What you want and what you need. So that's what happens when I deal with my women in my group.
So let's give sort of a history lesson. Back in 1995, when we first started this work of domestic violence, Dominion Family Services I'm speaking of,
yes,
the only person who could be arrested for domestic violence in the state of Michigan was a heterosexual male.
Correct.
Now the domestic violence community has decided not only to arrest men for domestic violence, now we arrest women for domestic violence, intimate partner violence. We arrest siblings for intimate partner violence, domestic family violence. We arrest grandmothers. We arrest old men, young men, and anybody else who does violence in the family. Now we're arresting them. Would you say that that's fair?
That's what's going on, according to the laws that was changed in 1995, and it kind of goes across the board because it's only the fair thing. But when it comes to domestic violence, there are certain stipulations. There is a separation between a mother and her daughter and a father and his son. But when it comes to intimate partner, there's certain criteria. They have to at least have been married, had a child in common, have lived together, and or had a dating relationship. So those are the criteria, and 18 and over.
I think one of the saddest saddest cases I had was a 16-year-old boy was referred to the agency because he and his girlfriend had broken up, and he decided he wanted to talk to her that day, and so he texted her 32 times every day for 5 days straight. And in doing that, they convicted him of stalking. And I think that was the most shocking thing, that we don't realize that when people say, I don't want to be bothered with you, then you need to leave them alone.
This is true.
Otherwise, you could be arrested for stalking. All right, let's move on and talk about the Christian community and domestic violence. Now, this is a topic that we really don't like to talk about because most of us think that we are Christian and we don't do these things. When I first started Dominion Family Services back in 1995, I had the thought, the feeling, the attitude that I'd get no Christians coming to my agency. But let me tell you, in 18 years of doing this work, mostly Christians are sent to me from the courts. So what's going on in the Christian community, Ms. Shirley?
It's a human problem. Yes, there are Christians and there's non-Christians, there's Muslims. It's across the whole board. Domestic violence have no barriers. It's rich, poor, middle class, it does not matter. People are having issues internally, but because the number one thing about domestic violence, intimate partner relationship, is about power and control. Now, people come to Christ and they give their life to Christ, but those internal things that's going on, the wheels are still turning.
So now, as we talk about the Christian community, how many women do you get calls from regarding domestic violence?
Oof, a lot. And the ironic thing is a lot of pastors' wives, ministers' wives, deacons' wives, and they have to call, like I would say, in the midnight hour. They can't give their names, but they want to hear a solution. They want to stay married because they say, God said I need to stay with this man, but I'm being beaten, I'm being verbally abused, I'm being psychologically abused, I've been told Christians, I've been told that if I leave, that they can find me or I may be killed. That is the truth.
I was on my Facebook page the other day, and I got a text from a lady who said that she was told by her pastor when she went to ask him about what she should do about her family life. He said to her, well, what did you do? So as if the violence that's going on in your home is all your fault. Do we still see that?
Oh yes, it's very permanent. It's still the same. Or the other thing, which have not changed, they tell them, well, have you prayed? Or you're not praying enough? Or you're not supporting your spouse enough. So these things are still happening, unfortunately, even in the 21st century. But people have to wake up. Are they really, really doing what the Bible says and what Christ requires us to do? And they're not doing that.
Let's go back and talk about Adam and Eve. Now, we all remember the story of Adam and Eve when God created man and God created woman. We know that it was God's perfect will and perfection to create humanity, to create one man and one woman in perfect equality. And we also know that there was no hierarchy between that man and that woman. God saw them as a man and a woman equal together. He gave them a rule to live by. He gave them a job to do, and they had from their beginning an existence that was in harmony with God, in harmony with themselves, in harmony in the relationship, and in harmony with all of creation. But it seems like when Adam and Eve sinned, they lost the harmony.
The key word there was sin, when they sinned. So what Adam and Eve done that plunged us into a world of sin, because the Bible said we're born in sin, shaped in iniquity, then what's happening is that people are not looking at the count of what's going on, like I was saying, what's going on internally with them, the thing that they need to give to Christ so he can fix that in them. And that's a very hard thing to do, because you got to face the truth about yourself.
Okay, so let's look at this threefold grace that God gave Adam and Eve. When he first brought them into being, they had harmony in themselves, harmony within themselves. They had peace in themselves. Secondly, they had harmony and peace between themselves as husband and wife. And then thirdly, they had harmony with their relationship over creation. So they had a threefold harmony. But when Adam sinned, now all of a sudden the harmony with God, the source of that harmony, the source of that peace, it's been broken. And so now they have disharmony, one in themselves, right? The Bible says that a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways.
Yes.
Okay, so within ourselves, we have disharmony. We have people that portray themselves to be something other than they actually are. So when they are dating, they portray one whole lifestyle that is absolutely and totally not true. Is that what you find?
That's what I'm finding. And you were using the word equality. There is no equality among people anymore. Equality is something that has to, nowadays, that have to be acquired. It have to be practiced. You have to, because you have to learn to give up yourself. Dominion Family Services. Dominion. God gave man dominion over the earth. That means that's a responsibility.
Sure.
And you have to take a position. And if a person don't have the harmony or the dominion over themselves, they cannot have harmony and dominion in their family, nor in their community.
So then when they present themselves to be a spouse in a marriage, they come to the table bringing baggage. They've been traumatized at home. They have been lied to. They have been betrayed, and they bring that to the marriage. So how then can they have peace and harmony inside themselves with all these wounds?
It takes time. It takes courage, because the time and courage, they go together. They have to walk together. Number one, you got to have the courage to accept what you already know about yourself, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So if you have the courage to face the ugly about yourself, then you can move forward and make changes within yourself, which in return, you'll make changes in your family.
So then if you don't have peace in yourself, if you don't have harmony with God in yourself, then it's difficult for you to have harmony and peace with someone that you're married to.
Yes, yes. I tell the ladies in my group, my group is faith-based. So we talk about the Lord and Christ when it comes to the table. But I tell them, if you do not face the issues of your personal self, then how can you help your children, your spouse? How can you do this if you don't have the understanding of who you are, what you want, and what you need?
So since we can't do that, then what happens is we don't trust one another. And because we don't trust one another, a person who doesn't trust, they must control. So now when it comes to the laws of domestic violence, then the definition that we have for domestic violence is one person's need for ultimate power and control over their spouse.
It's a war, a constant battle going on in the family.
Wait a minute. So when God comes into the garden and says, Adam, what happened? So Adam says, okay, Lord, that woman that you gave me. So Adam starts out saying, it's not my fault, it's your fault, and it's her fault.
That's what happened. And that's what happened in relationships today.
And so the argument starts. And away we go,
yes.
And we can't get along because we're butting heads because we can't trust one another.
Right.
So I got to try to control you, and you have to try to control me.
Right. Someone wants to have the power, the superiority over another person.
All right, so let's talk about possible solutions. What do we do?
Well, I tell all ladies and victims of domestic violence, first, we must make yourself safe. Well, how you do that? Create a safety plan. If you have to leave, find someone that you can go stay with, make a phone call to the police department and find out if there's a shelter you can go to, a local shelter. That's one of a couple of things that you can do. Where you can go, how you're going to get there. But women make a lot of mistakes. They love to tell what they're going to do. I'm going to leave you. No. You don't tell them you're going to leave them. You make the plan and you leave. And you can call a hotline, the 800-799-SAFE. It's the National Domestic Violence Hotline. That's 800-799-7233 or SAFE.
Now, I'm quite sure you're saying, well, I need help. And so what I'm going to tell you is if you're in the Michigan area and in the metropolitan Detroit area, give us a call at Dominion Family Services. Our number is 248-356-1700. Again, 248-356-1700. Thank you for being on with me with Conversations with the Father. I hope to see you again, and may God bless you and may God keep you.